This video will debunk the myth that the Night Stalker, aka Richard Ramirez, wore a rare, unique pair of Avias sneakers. The shoe prints were assumed to have been made by Avia Aerobics Model 445B in size 11.5. The B stood for black. Between January and July 1985, only 3 pairs of these black 11.5 aerobics were sold in California. But there is no proof that the killer was wearing the black Model 445 sneakers. The shoe prints were found at the Zazzera, Doi, Bell and Lang, Cannon, Bennett, Nelson and Covenant crime scenes. Obviously, the Zazzeras, Mary Cannon and Joyce Nelson were dead, so didn't report the killer's shoe color. Bell and Lang died shortly after the beatings, so there was no description of black shoes from them. Survivors, Lily Doi and Somkit Covenant, did not report the killer's shoe color or description. They could just as easily have been the white model. The notion that the killer wore black was an invention of Detective Gil Carrillo. That aspect of the Night Stalker case will be explained in another video. The following details may be boring, but they are important. To be able to determine whether an Avias shoe is an aerobics model or a basketball model, one must examine the finer details of the sole design. Most important were the subtle differences in the heel area. Lisa DiMeo is a forensic scientist who examined the shoe prints for Richard Ramirez's appeals. She wrote that Avia aerobics models can be identified by the 3 parallel bars on the heel. They only slightly graduate in size toward the back of the heels. DiMeo refers to them as being an equal length for clarity. For the basketball models, the 3 lines are much shorter and become obviously smaller in length as they graduate toward the end of the heel. There were other variations of the Avia basketball sneakers in circulation, court and coach. These included a 3rd heel design. This means that, if a shoe print at the crime scene is missing the heel area, or it is distorted by the terrain, one cannot say with certainty that the print was made by the Avia 445 model, black or otherwise. 13 different models of Avia have the same basic design. There are yet more boring technical facts to consider when identifying the Avia model. Lisa DiMeo explained that the groove that runs down the center of the sole ends closer to the parallel lines in aerobics models. Not just in the 445s, but in all aerobics shoes. The Zazzera shoe print was most likely made from an aerobic model because of the closeness of the groove to the parallel lines. The images pictured are a photo and cast of the same shoe print respectively. Now we need to talk about the chevrons. Here is Gerald Burke, who was the criminalist dealing with the shoe prints in the Night Stalker cases. Gerald Burke believed that size 11.5 Avia aerobics had 10 chevrons. The basketball boots only had 9. However, he contradicted himself and admitted that a size 13 aerobic shoe had an 11th partial chevron. This meant that the Zazzera print could be bigger than 11.5. Furthermore, Lisa DiMeo wrote that Burke was not experienced enough to accurately make shoe print casts. His measurement techniques were also bad, leading to inaccurate sizing. Burke relied too heavily on his assumption that all aerobic shoes of size 11.5 have 10 chevrons. He did not take into account the many variations in circulation. DiMeo accused him of confirmation bias and a lack of objectivity. He had decided all the shoe impressions were made by black 445B aerobics, and he was determined to make them fit. There is one more aspect that helped to determine whether an Avia was the aerobics or basketball model. The dam. The dam is the ridge that encircles the chevrons below the area with the concentric circles. The area with the lines and circles is called the flex join. According to Burke, on the aerobics model, the dam line does not touch the flex join on the inner side of the shoe. On the basketball model, the dam line does not touch the flex join on the outer side. However, Lisa DiMeo wrote that there are many subtle variations between the shoes. Some aerobics models have no gap between the dam line and the flex join at all. In fact, the shoe they repeatedly showed on Netflix's Night Stalker, The Hunt for a Serial Killer, has no gap between the dam and flex join. Gerald Burke's assessment was inaccurate and misleading. Moreover, the damn part of the shoe is sometimes distorted or missing in shoe prints from the crime scenes. This means the model of shoe is inconclusive. Why is this important? Because the shoe could have been made by tens of thousands of different models. It was not rare because there was no proof it was the elusive 445B in size 11.5. Another piece of false information from the Night Stalker detectives is that Avia was a new company whose sneakers had only come onto the market in 1985. In reality, the shoe's designer Jerry Stubblefield applied for the patent in 1981. The shoes were released in 1981, patent pending. Here are some advertisement posters from 1981, 1982 and 1984. Lisa DiMeo concluded that there was no scientific proof that Richard Ramirez was connected to those Avias shoes. So, now you know they were not proven to be black, not unique and not conclusive. Thanks to Detective Gil Carrillo and his false assertion that they were rare black shoes, it led to Avia personnel inadvertently giving false information at trial. For further reading, check out The Appeal of the Night Stalker, The Railroading of Richard Ramirez by Emily Zola, J. Roslin and K.C. Graham.